Hello, good morning, Pop Girlies, or good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time of day it is, hello, and we are happy to have you.
Happy
We want to
day.
welcome you.
We'd like to welcome you to Pop Girly Stadium.
Yes. Oh, so it's
That,
built.
oh, so that's gonna be like, well, no, it's still in construction, but we're planning things out now. I think that should be who should we get to record like the audio for when like somebody enters, they go, "We'd like to welcome you."
Well, if it's welcome, it's Kasha Davis, Mrs.
Should we
Kasha
get Miss
Davis.
Kasha Davis to record
But
it?
my thought was, who's the person on the Renaissance? The drop, drop, drop. No, that's Big Frida.
Oh,
The
it's Kevin Jay-Z Prodigy.
that's who we should get.
Yes. Ow.
She here to slay.
Are you ready to serve? Are you ready to slay? It's a
That's what
Pop
Wait,
Boy.
everybody
have you
hears.
heard that?
Yeah. That's what everybody hears when they go to the concessions.
Yes. No,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. I've heard it,
Uh,
yeah.
Levi, when
but
Popcorn Stadium is erected, you're gonna have a ball with all of the fonts for all
I
of the
know.
signage.
Oh, I love fonts. I love fonts. I really do. But
Yeah.
I'm mad at Bazaar because Bazaar is trying to get me to pay for premium, and I don't want to pay for premium. But
No.
they're like doing this thing where every single time I'm on my custom fonts that I've downloaded, every single time I try to change one, it like pops up this thing, pay for free premium every single time I'm trying to change a font. Do you know how many times I change fonts when I'm editing something? Because I'm always trying different fonts out. I love to try and
Mm-hmm.
experiment with different fonts, but it just so every single time, because I like write something down and then I
Yeah.
pop around with all my fonts, and every single time try premium for free. No, try premium for
What?
no,
How much is it?
like $31 a month.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
I was like, Levi doesn't do premium bizarre. Levi spends $50 to be a Letterboxd patron.
Yeah, but that's a year, and it was 45.
Oh,
Okay,
that's so
okay.
chill.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm having so much fun changing
You
the
are. You're
posters.
having a ball.
I have, and I really do feel superior to everyone.
Oh.
It's so much fun. Cause like, cause like the thrill of going onto your own profile and seeing that you have like a banner and like,
Yeah.
it's just like, wow, it just is so expensive looking.
It's a
Do you
Um,
ever use
rush.
Letterboxd in your desktop?
yeah, I love
He does all
desktop
the
actually.
time.
I do
It
all the
feels so
time.
chic to use
It
Letterboxd like
feels
on your
so
computer.
chic. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's harder to do like bold or italics when you're writing. It's harder to
Uh-huh.
do that. You have to do like those stupid like shortcut things. Like I've had to look up like
Oh.
keyboard shortcut for italics before.
What, so
Um,
just like Command I?
no, 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 because you have to like write it around the text.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure, sure, sure. Got
You
it.
write like, so I have to do the same thing too with my forums. So I'm familiar with
Ah,
the shortcuts.
ah.
Um, but yeah, no, I do love that. I do love that quality. I love it. I really do.
I
Letterbox, I
love it. I
love
love it. I
you.
love it. I love it.
Letterbox really is such a phenomenal app. It is so
It's
Oh yeah.
like
good.
my favorite, I think. I really think I like it better than like Instagram
It
or
also boggles my mind how something that essentially has the same concept, Goodreads, is like almost like unusable. Have any of you tried to use Goodreads?
Oh yeah. Goodreads interface sucks.
Is
I
is
don't
one
read,
of
so
it's like worse to me than the Rolling Stone interface, which is like
Oh my God.
the
Rolling
biggest
Stone.
ins the Rolling Stone interface. What are we doing here?
It frustrates me so bad.
If
And
you ever
sometimes
want to try to look at a Rolling Stone list, good luck, because your phone is going to overheat. It's going to reload 50,000 times, and you're never going to reach the bottom of the list ever.
yeah, and it's so frustrating because like I was at a point really heavily utilizing their, 500 top albums of all time. And it's really frustrating because the images don't load at the same rate as the text, which makes sense, but it's like a web page that has like 50 plus images on it, and none of them load at the same time. So you're like trying to read something or trying to scroll,
And then it
and then you
just,
lose your place.
yes, it's
It's
horrible.
so frustrating. So this is a PSA to all web developers out there. Fix that.
Seems like nobody
fix
wants to
it.
work these days.
Yeah, it's
Seems like
frustrating.
nobody wants to code. Anyways, should we hot track it up?
Well, yes.
Yes.
Eeny, meeny, miny, Drew.
Okay. I really was really hoping to go first. Um, So, over
What
the
is
weekend,
what is that
uh,
about?
Oh my
I
God.
don't know. I just took a pause. I don't know. Just
And you were like laughing. You can laugh, but
so,
I just was confused why.
This is
Okay,
a space for
continue.
laughing.
so on Friday, Levi and I went to see a film at, I mean, do we share the
At
home?
AMC. At
Yeah.
AMC. They don't
Okay.
need to know the
It was
location.
our home theatre, and we saw Pamela Anderson and Jamie Lee Curtis and Brenda Song slay in The Last Showgirl.
Dave Bautista
Um,
slayed as well, and Kiernan
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shipka,
Yep,
Billy Lord.
Billy Lord. But there's a song at the end of the movie that killed me. And it's a shame that it's not going to be nominated for an Oscar because it didn't make the short list. But it's Beautiful That Way by Miley Cyrus. And there's another guy who sings it as well, Andrew
Well,
Wyatt.
and it's co-written with Andrew Wyatt, who wrote the score for the film, and one of my favorite Swedish artists who I've talked about here before, Lika
Yes.
Lee.
Yes. So yeah, that's my hot track. It's amazing. If it comes at like the perfect time in a movie, it's like the dumbest thing that it's not going to get nominated because it's
It's
like
a
such a
perfect
perfect
example of how
song in a
like
film.
yes, like how like music can like enhance a moment in a film. It is like gutting when that song comes in, and then the song is amazing on its own.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really a bummer. But yeah, really hoping that that movie gets the Oscar love that it deserves. And I think it will. I think it's going to. Um,
Come on,
but yeah,
Pamela.
that's my song.
Yay.
I've been listening to it all week.
I was thinking that you were gonna do that. I'm happy that that's what you did.
Yes. Yes.
Love.
Maria, I feel like it's your turn now.
Yes, I kind of feel like it is too, because mine kind of has a good segue from Drew's, because mine is also my hot track because I saw it in a film over the weekend. I didn't go to the
Oh.
movies, but on Friday, I watched an iconic movie for the first time. It's a movie I've seen the beginning of a couple times, but I've never fully seen the full thing. And it's You've Got Mail.
Oh, great
So
film.
I
Great
watched
My
You've
mom
Got
film.
loves that
Mail,
movie.
which, like, one of my favorite kind of classic old Hollywood movies is The Shop Around the Corner with Jimmy Stewart, and that's what it's based off of. Like, that's the original story that You've Got Mail is based off of. So love that movie so much.
That's also the basis for one of my favorite musicals, She Loves Me. That same,
Yeah,
yeah.
Drew educated me on that. I did not know that that was a thing at all. So I still have to look into that because
Oh,
that sounds really interesting.
you have not heard Laura Benanti sing Vanilla Ice Cream. Oh my
No,
God. Mar-
no.
well,
Yeah,
if you,
also Laura Benanti slays
dear
what's
friend,
the dear friend?
dear fucking friend. Oh,
Oh.
wow.
And also she didn't like him.
Yeah, that this is theater tea that we don't need to get into. We're distracting from Maria's moment. But anyways, please continue the story in the moment.
Yes, no, all good. But yeah, so I finally watched it for the first time, and my favorite song, well, because I mean, the movie had a lot of really iconic songs in it, but my favorite song usage in the movie was Dreams by the Cranberries, because that song
Oh,
is
that's a
so
great
dreamy.
song.
And it plays like right at the start too, and it's just like New York, autumn, the opportunities, the possibility of love and whatever, and they cross paths 5 times and they still don't even know that whatever, and it's just like, oh my God. So that's my hot track. Just a classic, classic song. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
I love that song. I love the Cranberries.
Yeah.
Okay, my hot track, it's a real shocker. So it's by Madonna, but it's a different era than I think I've ever highlighted. It's an 80s song, and the song is technically the second single, but kind of like the first single from her third album, True Blue, called Papa Don't Preach. So the first
Classic.
single was a song called Live to Tell, which is a phenomenal song. And it also kind of like marked a big departure in her sound. It was like a much more thematically darker song than anything that she had released previously, but it was originally attached to a film and then it was like added onto the album. And so this was the first song released from the record that like solely originated on the album. And I think that like in a lot of ways maybe it's like more specifically tied to the album because like Live to Tell also kind of existed within the context of a movie, but Papa Don't Preach is such an important song in her career, and it's also such an incredible song. Like it starts off the album, but then when you listen to it, it starts with these like super intense, almost like Baroque strings, and then it gets into this 80s dance like vibe, and lyrically, it's incredible. It tells the story of a teenage girl uh struggling with unwanted pregnancy and learning how to deal, like trying to figure out a way to deal with it. And she can't go to her father, and her friends are telling her to give it up, and she doesn't know what to do, and she's feeling at a loss. And it's really an incredible song musically and lyrically. I think it's Madonna gives one of my favorite vocal performances in any pop song. It highlights all of her strengths as a recording artist, which are obviously not like technique or vocal pyrotechnics, but she is able to communicate and emote in a way that most people cannot. And there's such a sense of urgency in her voice in that song. In early Madonna records, prior to Evita and all the vocal training that entailed, she was straining a lot more, but in a lot of ways that added to like the hunger that was in a lot of her songs. Because so much of her songs are about desire in some way or another. And there's this like almost raspy quality in her voice. And like she snarls in a way that just feels so visceral. I love her vocal performance. And then this is such, I feel like, an important song for her because it's obviously about what it's about, but kind of bigger picture, it represents her standing up to male authority figures, which is something she's done her entire life, both before she was famous and then after she was became famous during her career. And like as I'm reading her biography, it's really, really interesting to listen to that song and be like, wow, like this is something that like you have been building to since you were a kid, rebelling against your father for being the way that he was. And so like just like knowing the background of her relationship with her dad makes the song richer, but in any form or shape, it's a really phenomenal song. So if you've never heard it, I definitely recommend checking it out.
Oh, I forgot that you're reading the biography still, so it
It's
just
so
like
good.
it makes all of the um like the context of all of these Madonna mentions and how it's like very heightened right now. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot how
Yeah,
far into it are you?
she's in New York right now. So she's in New York pre pre fame.
Oh, okay.
Pre
You
fame.
know what this is reminding, you know what you reading the book reminds me of?
What?
You know, in season one, episode two of Smash, when Ivy's at the audition, and
And
then he
she's
comes up to her and
reading
she's reading an unauthorized biography of
biography of
Marilyn.
Marilyn Monroe.
You're like,
Honestly,
and you're like, I'm not, and he's like, you're reading everything, and she's like, yeah.
I'm honestly, Julia Garner's really lucky that I was not at the Madonna boot camp for the canceled Madonna film because I'm I would have won the Madonna boot camp.
And Miss Flo. Miss Flo would not have gotten the invite if you would have been on the list.
No. Well, because Julia Garner's the one who finished it, but like
Yeah, she was in
Florence,
it, but
she won.
yeah, and I know Julia got it, but Florence was in the
Oh yeah,
talks,
Florence Pugh was
right?
in there. Sky Fiera was at the Madonna boot camp. Alexa Demi was at the Madonna boot camp.
Oh, I
Alexa
forgot Alexa
Demi.
Demi was there.
None hold a candle to me
Do you want to
though.
explain what we're talking about quickly?
Yes. So the Madonna Boot Camp was for a film, a music biopic that was going to be written and directed by Madonna herself, written alongside Diablo Cody, who's a screenwriter known for movies like Juno. Uh, they had this thing that became known in the media as Madonna Boot Camp, where they were having a whole bunch of actresses basically audition to play Madonna, and it involved very intense dance training and vocal training just to kind of see like who could do it. And eventually the person who was cast was Julia Garner, the actress, but then the film ended up getting canceled and I don't know. Madonna's like hinted that like she's going to revisit it, but I don't know if it's going to happen. It's so interesting though because she's like said that she doesn't want anybody else besides her to tell her own story. And like it's so fascinating because I don't think she's going to be able to give an objective version of her life. Like, it's going to be very interesting and maybe like not wholly accurate, but it's another thing that's just so interesting about her sense of like control and ownership. Honestly, I'm kind of just realizing now, like the two of my two favorite artists have, I think, a very similar drive and push within them to like be in control of their story and have like the final say. I think her and Taylor both do that quite a bit, maybe just in different ways. So yeah, but that's Madonna Boot Camp. So that's
Wow.
it.
Also, speaking of canceled biopics, I just need to throw this out into the universe on the Pop Girlies platform. Is the Jeff Buckley biopic still happening?
Oh my God, you in this
Please.
Jeff Buckley biopic.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm
No,
just
it's not happening anymore.
That's such a shame because Reeve Carney, I think, is the best casting that could have ever happened for someone to play Jeff Buckley in a film, and it's just a shame that it's not happening. So, well, I don't know. Manifest that it's still happening. Hollywood, please. Next.
Oh, because they're doing Hadestown in London. So
For
all the
how
original
long?
cast.
How long?
I think it's like 12 weeks, but it sold out. The entire run sold out. It's like
Well,
that's never
yeah.
happened for a London run of anything.
It
Wow.
Like
sold
it
out
was
like
like Era's tour.
it sold out like instantly, right, Drew?
Yeah, like there were people who got on like it was like Era's tour who got on and could not even get like in line.
I mean, that's
Like
stuff
Hadestown
of
is so
legends.
big over there.
That is legendary.
Yeah.
Shout out
It's
to
also crazy
Miss
that like
Anais.
the entire original cast is doing it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
slay.
Well, but also I heard T that Eva is directly after that is coming to New York because she's going to be the next Salad Bowles.
Oh,
Oh, I heard
interesting.
that too. I actually heard that tea as well. Wow.
So maybe they are going to like hard stop. I don't know. But
They should hard stop
Well,
because Reeve Carney has other things to do after.
oh my God, Maria.
It's just perfect. It has to happen.
You know what?
Uh,
That's true. There have been people protesting in the streets over the Jeff Buckley biopic. Maria is really being a voice for the people right now.
I,
starring Reeve Carney, famous A-list movie star.
yeah, I
Who
mean,
everybody
In
on
a
the
sorry,
Rocky
podcast
Horror Picture Show, let's do the time warp again.
and
and
Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Thank you very
leading
much.
man of I Knew You Were Trouble music video.
Yes. I mean, he's a well-rounded performer, musician, actor, singer, everything.
Star. Statement
Star.
legend.
Like he's a star, and I'm just saying what millions are thinking. So try to tear me down.
Millions.
Billions even.
Million.
I'm saying
He's
what
Oh,
trillions
great.
are thinking. So
yeah, he's great. But girl, he is kind of Kia.
I
if
wouldn't say he's Kia yet.
if he's Kia, he's my Kia. Like that's how strongly I feel.
He was great in Hadestown.
I'm
He
sure he
Like
was
was.
so good in
He's
that.
super talented. He's super talented.
Yeah.
I just don't think the majority of people maybe listening to this podcast will know who he is off the top of their head.
Yeah. A
but we just
Hadestown Pop
listed
Girlies episode would be great.
we just listened to listed everything that he's in, so people can do their homework now. Starred with Rocky Horror Picture Show. Let's do the time warp again.
Oh my
He's an
God.
amazing riff-raff. Okay, can we get into the world of
Yes.
romance?
Yes.
So Drew, what are we doing?
So this is like literally when we started this podcast, this is exactly what I wanted to do. This episode, we are doing Romance, the second studio album by Camila Cabello. Yeah, I'm just getting right into it. It is 14
Yes, let's go.
tracks. It is 46 minutes and 40 seconds. It is pop, but there are also some rock and Latin influences. And I hope all y'all who are listening did your homework and listen, because we're about to rip this album apart. T.
Uh, okay. Rip it apart.
Okay, so the producers, Miss Cabello, this album has seen every MacBook Pro in a studio in Los Angeles because it I'm just gonna name the people who I knew of who were on this. Or it's either I knew of them or they were on the majority of it. So Louis Bell was like her main collaborator, and then she worked with people like John Bellion, Benny Blanco, Cashmere Cat, Phineas, Ricky Reed, Ryan Tedder, and Andrew Watt. Those were like the main people that I could figure out. Um, so yeah, it comes off of her first album, which was self-titled Camila. It was a huge hit, um, with hits like Havana, which is like one of the biggest like hits of all time. Um, and then also Never Be the Same. And
Can I
also
say
it comes
something real
off,
quick? Never Be the Same
yes.
has the exact same opening drums as Good Morning Baltimore from Hairspray. Why is everybody giving me blank stares like I said something crazy? It's true.
No, because we're all listening to Good Morning. Well, Maria's famously never seen Hairspray, but
What?
It's true.
This is horrible.
we've literally
What?
talked about this on the podcast before, so we
Yeah.
can't, yeah.
Let's not get mad at me all over again, please.
Okay, so thank you for the point, Levi. That was a great point because I just heard it in my head. But it also comes off of the album and Senorita, which was a huge hit with her and Shawn Mendes, kind of revealing their relationship and also being a huge like power couple in pop music. So she had a lot of, goodwill around her in the music industry, I would say. So yeah. So and it also comes off, so the promotion that she did for Camila was kind of different for like a debut album because she only really toured it like a couple months on her own. And then most of the promotion of her tour, actually, she opened for Taylor Swift's Reputation Stadium tour, which was her main way of touring the album. She didn't really tour a lot besides that. So it was kind of weird in the promotional aspects of it because you didn't get a lot of her individual identity as a performer, which I think comes off a lot in the promotion of Romance. But so after the Reputation tour after that was over and after um there was like a 4 month period and where she wasn't really doing anything, and then she kind of came back and said, "Hey, I'm making an album, it's called Romance." And then literally the whole entire year of 2019 we were like, okay, Camila's working on Romance. What's Romance? What's it going to sound like? But we had this kind of like name in our head, and even when Senorita came out, we knew that she was working on something called Romance, but we didn't know that Senorita was even going to be on it or what it was going to sound like or what it was even going to be about. Um, so yeah. So um and also I feel like for most, well performed debut albums into their like sophomore album, I feel like this went pretty quick. Like she didn't really leave the public eye in a way that most famous people who have really strong debut albums do. She didn't really like leave and come back in a way that a lot of people do. So yeah. So the first kind of glimpse that we got of what the Romance era and album was going to sound like after she told us what it was going to be was September 5th of 2019, she released Shameless and Liar together as singles. So both of them came out on the same day. Um, and I don't really, that was like its first kind of beginning of the end for its promotional triumph because why the hell would you release two lead singles on the same day without like really pushing one of them over the other? Doesn't really make sense. And it's not like one's a ballad, one's a like it just didn't make sense at all why that happened. So that was kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? And then she announced the album was coming out and uh like the track list and everything like that. And then she did an SNL performance still before the album was released. The album was released in December 6th of 2019. And still before this, she did SNL and she performed Cry for Me and Easy, which she then also released as standalone singles before the album came out. So, and this is what I think with Shameless and Liar coming out as singles, it kind of just didn't make any noise. And then with these two performances, this was when it was kind of like making the wrong noise. Because specifically the performance of Cry for Me, I don't know if I've seen more hate, and this is coming from a Katy cat. I don't know if I've seen more hate towards an artist than watching people talk about her performance of Cry for Me because of its similarities to Marina and the Diamonds. So that song, the melody of that song, literally she is imitating Marina in the melody of the song, which I don't personally mind. However, it was very imminent. And then people were going back to what she had already released, which her song Liar is literally the same first verse melody and chorus as a Marina song called Karma. So there was a lot of like, okay, she's really copying Marina and the Diamonds here. And like, is this making sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. I literally saw, so I don't know if it was the same for both of you, if you were on the same kind of Twitter that I was, but she was getting dragged through the entire mud for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Hmm.
The album is still not out. It is announced, but we then get the next single. So we're at five singles now.
Ooh.
Well, and then six if you
And
count
no,
Senorita.
here we go.
Oh,
So we have five singles, and then she announces the next single, which is called Living Proof, and then she releases the track list, which then has Senorita on it, which no one had expected Senorita to be on the album. And so, yes, which Living Proof was like really pushed to like radio and things like that. Didn't do very well, but it was the next single, and it had like a video, it had more concept, and I think the single really kind of pushed forward the aesthetics and the look of the album that she was really going for. And she also had an amazing American Music Awards performance to Living Proof, which is like one of my favorite performances on an award show ever. If you really like that song, check it out. Her live performance of that, her vocal performance is incredible. So yeah. So then the album finally comes out, and it didn't really like get horrible reviews or anything like that. It kind of got mixed reviews. I didn't find a Pitchfork score, so
I found
I
one.
don't. Wait, you did?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What was it?
6.1.
Oh, I feel like that
The
tracks for like pop albums.
the little blurb is the pop singer's second album captures the thrilling feelings of experiencing love, but it becomes so universalized that it blurs out of focus.
Okay.
So,
Um,
So.
so kind of like commercially, it didn't really do like insane, especially compared to how big her first album was. But it debuted at number three, and peaked there. None of the singles did very well. I think Liar, well, if you don't count Senorita, which I don't really count because
no.
no.
Because it's so
Liar,
obviously like was tacked on after the fact.
right. So Liar peaked at 52, and that was the best. So, um, but yeah, it was kind of weird because then so it kind of got like some sort of acclaim. Like Taylor posted about it, saying that she really loved it. Um,
Wait, no, Drew.
wait, whoa,
My Oh My peaked at 12.
oh, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, Wikipedia. Okay, My Oh My, which My Oh My was released as a single after the album had
Afterwards, yeah,
already come
yeah.
out as well. So
But yeah,
maybe that's what Wikipedia was saying.
probably because it peaked. Because I thought I remembered it kind of being like decently successful. Yeah, it received a diamond certification in Brazil. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Double
Okay,
platinum in the US.
romance.
Okay, my oh my. And famous gay rights ally DaBaby.
Yep. Um, so anyways, so that like it kind of got mixed reviews because I feel like it could have gotten like some sort of critical acclaim if she wouldn't have promoted it worth a shit. Um,
Hmm.
but it was also kind of weird because it didn't get any Grammy love besides Senorita, if you count that. But they asked her to perform on the Grammys. She got to perform First Man, which is the closing track to her dad at the Grammys, which I'm like, Grammy performances are so like hard to get, I feel like. It's so weird
Yeah.
that she just like got one. Especially because she's not like a Grammy winner or anything. So I don't know. That was just weird. It was also I would not have performed that, but whatever. Um, so she announced a tour, of course, before the album came out. And it was supposed to be arenas in summer of 2020, but that got canceled. Um, so yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say about this because I wanted this episode to be more of a discussion about it. Um, but I kind of want to open up the discussion because Levi and I kind of about when we would talk about this like 4 or 5 years ago, um, we like came up with each we came up with concepts that we thought would have been better at promoting this album because
Uh-huh.
I personally don't think it's bad at all.
No.
However, it was just promoted so terribly. Um, and
Can I
yeah,
add one thing, Drew, about to
yeah,
like so the plagiarism accusations are not just were not just solely with Marina
right,
because
right, yes,
visually, the album has like kind of a like Renaissance-y, like Baroque kind of visual flair. And there's all these like flourishes and there's all this stuff. And a lot of people made comparisons to the visual artwork for Caroline Polachek's Pang, which had been released earlier that year. And if you compare the photo shoots side by side, it certainly looks that way. And it's interesting because it's like somebody who's like kind of mainstream pop girly, like copying the homework of an alt pop girly, which didn't, I think, translate super well for people.
well, it also wasn't just the plagiarism and the visuals too. The song that she got plagiarized that they said was a Marina song, Cry for Me. It also like literally does the same exact riff in the bridge as Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson. Literally,
Everyone's
she
so full of
is
good ideas.
it's the same, which I don't really care. Like I don't think Michael sued her, so she probably got permission. But like
Michael,
I also
you mean Michael, the one who had been dead for years at
the
that point?
estate, girl, the
Oh,
estate.
Michael.
well, you just said Michael. Like, I don't think he was
Michael
suing,
Myers
girl.
sued her. But
Oh
anyway, so
God.
yeah, it did not from I feel like the SNL performance just was the beginning of the end for her.
Really, I think the beginning of the end was the double lead singles. Or the double
That made
not
no noise.
they're not even technically lead singles because then Senorita was made a lead single after the fact because they desperately needed a hit on the record. Like, what are we doing with that? It's just every decision is baffling to me.
It's crazy.
Besides musically, because most of the musical decisions I'm on board with. But
Yeah.
anything else related to this album, I'm just like, what was happening in these people's heads?
Yeah.
What
Okay, so
what
I came up with a concept,
tell us the
and I
concept.
know Levi also probably has an idea of a concept. Um, a concept of a plan.
Ooh,
Um,
good callback.
uh, so I like I like it being called I like that she went for this romance title. However, I thought it would have been cooler if she had this, she said it was going to be called Romance. This is way before Senorita even came out. Then Senorita came out, and they got something they didn't really talk about. There was obviously a lot of pushback on her relationship with Sean. They got a lot of like hate in the media just for being really annoying. And Levi and I love the idea of Shameless being like the centerpiece of the album. What I think she should have done is I think she should have first made the album cover the Shameless single cover, which is just it's a really close-up photo of her looking over her shoulder, like really like it's almost kind of like a scary photo, but she's like looking over her shoulder. And then it says Shameless in the font. And then so just Shameless first cover, first single. And then I think she should have then came out and said that the album was called A Shameless Romance.
Ooh.
See.
Because then it would have made more noise, I think.
So I agree with parts of that because I agree the Shameless because we should also like talk about what this album is about because the album has a very clear narrative and that like ties
Yes.
into this because the album and I think that's one of the strongest suits on the record. It very much tells a very concise story of you're starting off and you're in a relationship with someone and you're having feelings for someone else and you're trying to reconcile that and there was also kind of like a it's almost like the exact same plot actually of Torture Poets now that I'm like talking it out. Like it kind of except like it just doesn't end
Plagiarized.
it just doesn't end catastrophe. Yeah, years in advance. It just doesn't end, you know, horrifically on this record for Miss Camila the way that it does for Miss Taylor.
Wait, I
But
just thought of Romance and Lover. She literally plagiarized that too.
I mean, it's just the inspiration and originality and creativity were in other people's places and not at the Camila Cabello recording studio and
Right.
conference room.
There's no
Uh,
studio. It was 500 people's MacBook Pros.
But the record is it's this very kind of like clear arc of you start off, you're in this relationship and you have feelings for somebody else. Eventually you leave that relationship and then you enter this like new great connection with the second person. And the first half is a lot heavier than the second half. The second half gets a lot lighter. And so I agree. Shameless to me is the centerpiece of the album. It's the statement to me because it describes exactly what this record is. I think this record should be called Shameless. I hate the title Romance. I think the title Romance is fucking stupid, and it's also not what it's about. Like romance to me has such a different connotation than what this album sounds like, feels like, and is about. The My favorite moments on this album are when it's darker, edgier, rockier, when it's kind of grimy. That's not romance. And then, okay, sonically, the record is all rock influences and Latin influences, and there's a little bit of like dancey stuff is in the back. Why visually are we in the fucking Sistine Chapel? What are we doing? What does this have to do
I
with
I kind of
anything?
like the visuals.
No, Cupid, fly away. I don't want your arrow. Go away. Go home. I don't think it makes sense at all with anything.
Like Living
What
Proof, you don't see that. You don't see like the in that.
but that's one song. And Living Proof, love you know how much I love that song. But that's not like the record is not that. The record is Shameless. The
Yeah.
record is her being crazy, screaming her lungs out for him. That is what the record is. And then you look at the art and it's like, oh, it's this is gonna sound like, you know, church. Like this is gonna sound like, oh, and it just doesn't. That's not what it is. It is so baffling to me. And I though actually, I don't think that Shameless should have been the lead single. Because I think the lead single should have been, and I'm surprised that you didn't say this. I think it should have been Should Have Said It.
Yeah, no, I don't think of it as a single.
You don't think of it as a single? What do you mean you don't think of it as a single? That to me is the single.
Well, I guess
It
if there's 8 singles, then it can
That
be
song
one.
is so catchy. It's stuck in my head all the time. I hadn't listened to that song in years when I was preparing for before I was preparing for this record. I cannot get fucking and say you want me now. This I can't get that out of my head. It won't leave.
Get out!
Like literally. And then the second that it like
Say
goes to
let
the
me
back of my
know.
mind, the second it goes to the back of my mind, the thing at the front of my mind is, yeah, only lonely. Like I think it is the catchiest fucking song on the planet.
That Sean feels like such a little shit for that song.
And that song also is exactly what the record is. Exactly what the record is. Because Shameless to me is the centerpiece, is the statement, but I don't think Shameless is the single because I think Shameless is too. I just don't think it is the single. I don't find it because
Okay.
she's commercially at her best when she's leaning into her Latin influences. That is when people
Oh,
like her
what
the
if just
most.
Liar was the single?
I mean, that I think would have been better than the
Kinda
confusing
like it
bog.
though.
But
Levi, do you like
yeah.
Shameless as the album opener?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oh,
It
yes.
has
It's,
to be
it's
that.
not.
Oh,
Yes.
that's not up for debate. That's not
Sorry.
up for debate.
And it's the tour opener.
It has to. Oh yes, it's so is the tour opener, and like all the lights up, and
And there needs to be a
the
curtain drop.
yeah, and the I need you more than I want to, and curtain da
Oh,
da 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 da.
Levi and I would have been the only ones
Only
in
ones at
Rosebud
the
at the romance
United.
tour.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, girl,
Yes,
no, it was not United. She wasn't good
I'm.
enough for that yet, girl. It
I'm.
was all
Yeah,
state.
and I don't doubt it. But we would have been losing our minds. I love when she comes in. Right now, I'm shameless. Oh, it's so good.
Also, opening an album with Don't Speak.
It's so good. Everything is it's but why? Okay, now that we're talking about what went wrong visually, so
Okay, yeah,
I
Levi, I think you can get into your thoughts now.
okay. Well,
I'm giving you permission to get into your thoughts, even though you've already talked.
thank you, and I take your permission and I heed it. But so
Maria
even
is so scared right now. Her seat is sweating.
I don't think she's
Mama,
scared. I
I'm
think
not.
she's entertained. She's at the circus eating
I'm
popcorn.
entertained. I'm not scared. Thank you.
She's not gagging.
I've seen it, yeah.
I've seen. So
Okay, Levi, go.
even with okay, if we're sticking with this visual theme that makes no sense and doesn't fit, why out of because there are a lot of beautiful photos. I'm not saying that the photos aren't good. There are a lot of beautiful images. What the fuck are we doing on this album cover? First of
Yeah, the
all,
album cover is not the best
why is
photo.
every androgynous person in the world like having sex in the background and making out? Why is the art museum flooded? Why are there random Greek statues
They're at the
floating
Met Gala
around?
in Ocean's 8.
Yeah, like there is
Yeah.
no gender conformity happening in the background, which is like served, but also what does that have to do with the record?
It's like
What's
there's a
that have to do
clear
with anything,
narrative.
bitch?
It was a clear intention because no one in the background of the album is gender conforming.
Literally, nobody is. So it clearly
Okay,
was
Levi.
like,
But when we were watching her performance on the AMAs, because Levi and I did watch it together, it was the same VMAs Taylor did her Artist of the Decade thing. When we were watching that living performance, you go, I just love how non-binary romance is.
I said that.
I just love how androgynous it is.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna comment on that. How I just don't know. I've never liked this image, and you can't tell me that I have
No,
because
no, the image is garbage. We know.
what is happening?
Garbage.
And then she
Why
did the mistake of releasing every single alternate cover, which literally was
everyone is
light
better?
years better.
I
Wait, do
mean,
you
it
guys know
makes
what images are used in like the gatefold for this vinyl? Like, is that
I don't
knowledge that
think
we
there was
have?
a vinyl girl.
Oh, okay.
I
Honey,
don't
there
think
was no
it.
vinyl.
Also, her
there's
merch was
not gonna be a
famously like
vinyl.
$5 million. Everything that she made was so expensive.
Well, yeah, because she had to get the revenue somehow. The funds,
Girl, no
the
tour.
funds, the income is not coming in. So I just need to
She
say,
looks really good on the album cover, though. I mean, everyone looks
Yeah.
gorgeous on the album cover, but
She
she's
looks
serving
so good in
face.
all the alternate ones too.
yeah, but a tsunami has hit the Met. Why is it
Why?
flooded?
Because she's
I
shameless, bitch.
about ecological disaster? I just
About
don't under
romance.
I do, then why is there a flood?
It's a
What
shameless romance.
that has nothing to do with anything. So I just have to say I fucking hate the album cover. So getting into the record, yeah. So this is just such an. I don't think there's any other two people who are passionate about this album and what could have been the way that Drew and I are. It has occupied so much space in our heads. And it's one of those things that, like, it's frustrating because the public response to this record at best is a shrug. If it's not the hate tweets, and because I think this is really when people started turning on Camila. I know it seems like ancient history now because she's such like a cultural punchline and somebody that I think people really enjoy making fun of. And granted, she makes it pretty easy. Her antics and level of cringe, she kind of walks into it a lot. But there was a time when people really liked her. And her debut album, that era was very, very successful. She had her few little singles that she released post leaving Fifth Harmony that really didn't get anywhere. She recalibrated, gave us Savannah, massive smash, and then her first album is very, very good. It's very, very good. And it's very short, it's very concise. Uh it tells you who she is as an artist. It's fun, it's very listenable. I really like that first album. And it was a big hit. It got Grammy noms. I mean, it was a success. And it also debuted at number one, which I don't even think any Fifth Harmony album had ever hit number one before. And then her debut album hits number one with over 100,000 copies sold first week. So like it seemed like she was gearing up to become a major pop girl. And then it's frustrating that every wrong decision was made on this, which I think has just pretty much erased that possibility from happening. Obviously, she has six, like that Ed Sheeran song from her third album. I know, like, was it kind of a hit and like got a Grammy nom, and but it's out of the question. She's not getting another Havana. Like that's just not gonna happen. And I think that this album is the effects of this album are so much to blame, but it's boggling because the album's really, really good. Like so much of it is so good. I don't think it's perfect. There are some things that I think are wonky, but the quality of the music does not align with the reception and the disastrous rollout. So it's just one of those things. It's like frustrating to kind of think about because you're listening to it knowing that it was Flop Tina, and you're like, but this isn't a flop Tina. This is kind of a serve Susan. Like, what is so? It's it's a weird experience. Um, yeah, but I really do enjoy her first two albums. I am not really into her third album, and then CXOXO. I'm not. I don't know. CXOXO is not for me. I don't know if it is for me. Um, but
Girl, you gotta get into CXOXO.
I love June Gloom.
And I love it.
Oh, and I love it. Well, yeah, I love it. Song of the
So
decade.
you
But
did you listen to any of the other songs?
yeah, I've listened to the entire album multiple
Oh,
times.
okay, okay.
Girl, I think I texted you while I was listening to it.
Oh,
Pull up the
you like
receipts.
Dreamgirls?
Um, it's okay.
Catch Drew alone at the CXOXO tour.
I would go.
Okay, well, it's on Pop Girlies, so you have to go now.
I would go. If it aligns with my schedule, I would go.
Pop Girlies meet and greet at CXOXO tour.
Well, there's going to be Pop Girlies meet and greet at the Kelsey Ballerini concert coming up for
Yes. Okay,
the
we gotta get Maria a ticket.
yeah, Maria, we have to find your way to Kelsey
You
Ballerini.
you have to
Oh,
force
right.
yourself to go to Kelsey Ballerini, which would be your hell.
I don't know about hell. It's not that serious.
Anyways, the record is, I think the record is really good. I really enjoy storytelling records. Narratives are something that really hit for me, and I really appreciate the way that this album is constructed. It pretty much is chronological, and it tells a very linear story. There are certainly two halves of the album. There is the half of the album that is very angst-ridden and dark and is about, reckoning with this feeling of having to hurt somebody that you care about because you're have feelings for somebody else. And That's the kind of like melodramatic conflict that pop music is made of. And I think she does a really great job at mining that dynamic for so many interesting songs. I don't think that this is the kind of generic pop music that people would accuse someone like Camila Cabello of making. Like these are interesting, funky, cool songs. Like Bad Kind of Butterflies, that song is so weird, but it's great. But that chorus is kind of bizarre the way it comes out of nowhere and the melody of it. And then the other half of the album is the romantic, lighter, frothy, head over heels, falling in love with Shawn Mendes. I think out of the two, I think that's the weaker half, in my opinion. I don't think the songs as a whole are as good or as interesting as what's happening in the other half of the album. And like, I think there is a level of like jarring kind of tonal difference, like comparing like, and I think it's just because they're so distinctly two halves that like sometimes I kind of feel like a little bit of whiplash. It's like, oh my God, we were just in like shameless, should have said it land, and now we're in Dream of You easy land. Like they're very, very different. But I really appreciate the storytelling. Yeah, I mean, I think the songwriting here, I think there's a lot of really interesting songwriting moments. The one that surprised me the most when I was doing my re-listens, because I hadn't listened to this album like a long time. I listened to it all the time when it was released, and I hadn't listened to it in a while. But the the song that really, really was kind of surprising me was Feel It Twice, which is not one that I remember like gagging over when it was first released. But listening to it again, I love the way that that chorus is written. I love the
I
lyrics
gagged
on it.
too.
You were, we were both
The
gagging.
second time, yeah.
Yeah, and that because I
I
don't think that.
never got it the
No, I
first
didn't
time.
either. I didn't either. But I was like, this is so interesting. Like I
That
love,
pre-chorus.
yes,
Is it the pre-chorus? Yeah.
well, and I love the way she sings. I felt it once, I can't feel it twice. It's and that
Yeah.
the chord progression is super similar to the song that she has with Mark Ronson.
Yes, Find You Again.
It's like, oh, it's so similar,
Yes.
which is a great song if anyone's never heard that. That is a
Yeah.
great
Amazing.
song. Amazing song. Um, I think she looks so good with blonde hair. I think that's the most
Oh,
successful
I
thing.
love the blonde.
She looks
Maria, do you like
so
the
good with
blonde?
Yes, I would say so. I do.
I think
I
she
mean,
looks so good with blonde.
I think that I mean I feel like I prefer her with the dark hair. Like I feel like it just suits her like so well. Like her hair's pretty iconic. But she works the blonde.
I love the
I
blonde.
wish she wouldn't have switched back in the same era. I hate when people do that.
I
Oh,
know,
did
but
Like
she
she's
already?
about to tour CXOXO with brown hair.
yeah, that's
Oh.
stupid. That's like when like there's pictures of like Taylor on the Red Tour with the 1989 Bob. It's like, what's happening?
Eh.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you don't know this girl. So yeah, I mean, so that there's I'm trying to get back to my thoughts. And I'm like having like a brain fart. Yeah, the writing. I think there's a lot of lyrical moments that are very, very good. You can absolutely tell that like she's a studier of Taylor Swift, in the amount of like confessional, hyper specific lyrics that pop up. I think overall, like the lyrics are like very clever. I think she's able to communicate very concisely, and I think that like you get a sense of like who she is and what these dynamics are. She has a few tropes that she leans on that like I don't love. I really dislike the I know the way you taste motif that keeps popping up because I just think there's something kind of gross about that. Like it doesn't sound hot or sexy to me. It's like the way
It's
you
like degrading.
taste. It's weird. It's like I'm not a piece of meat. And
Right.
it gives it's given Hannibal Lecter a little bit to me. I just find it a little uncomfortable, and maybe that's just like a personal thing. Uh, I have to, well, I'm gonna save it for my me. There is a song I hate on this album.
There's a song I hate as well, and I wonder if it's the same one. I can't wait to know.
I hate it, and it represents one of my least favorite trends, one of my least favorite tendencies in a pop album. Uh, kind of on the con list. Something else that I noticed this past listen was I think pretty much unanimously, I think the choruses on these songs are really strong. I think sometimes the verses meander a little bit. I think sometimes her verse melodies, they get into this like like talk singy rhythmic pattern that doesn't always differentiate they don't always differentiate themselves from each other in a way that the choruses always really pop, I think. And so sometimes I just am kind of like wishing for her to do something different with her verses. But overall, I think this is a very strong effort. I think, especially in comparison to her debut, it's showing an artist who is digging a lot deeper, who is experimenting more with sounds, who is trying to do something concise and theatrical. She's trying to make a statement. She's trying to make a story. I mean, she's doing all the things that like a lot of pop stars don't even aspire to do.
Yeah.
So and I think she and a lot of the time she's nailing it. Like she nails it. I think a bunch on this record. I think particularly the first half. I think the first half is just stronger as a whole to me than the second half. But it boggles my mind that like these songs were all flops when like a song as good as Living Proof was flopped. What?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me at all.
Honestly, too, oh, it's crazy that Living Proof to me could have been a single that could have like made it the tour. Like
Yes,
it could have been like the Living Proof tour. Like that's how big it could have been to me.
I agree. Like, I think that song is so undeniable.
Like, and it sucks that because I like that you said like her attempt at doing concept was so like great. It almost sucks because it definitely feels like the concept came before the entire album was done,
Yeah.
which I think was another issue. I mean, it doesn't fix the whole like promotional flop of it, but I think the two kind of disconnect parts of
Yes.
it. I think maybe she was writing the first half that we maybe didn't gravitate to before the kind of rock influenced came in after.
And I just think the rock in that sound is so nice because I think the other thing, she has a very distinct voice, and her voice
Yeah.
is not for everybody. And even for me, there are some times where I'm like, I don't know if I love the way this sounds, but I think she's a great rock vocalist. I
Yeah.
think the way that her vocal tone can like be kind of snarly, I think fits the rock sound and like kind of heavier guitars and the angst that that music brings out so well. She's also a very emotive singer, which is something
Yes.
I just said singer like Alyssa Edwards. I just said singer. I literally just was like, she's a very emotive singer.
You totally did.
I did. Absolutely I did. Um and that's something that I think those rock songs really
Yes.
bring out the best of.
But also like Living Proof, you hear her
Oh
going
yeah,
through
she's
it, girl.
amazing. She's amazing living proof. That
But
vocal performance is
on
incredible.
that note, let's get her on the Reputation vault tracks.
Yeah, I think she'd serve. And she was also great live. She was so good as an opener.
Oh, amazing live. The
Yeah,
performance of Into It.
yeah. Oh, that song is so
Mm,
good.
yep. Okay, okay. I need to hear Maria's thoughts.
Oh, okay.
Levi, are
No,
you done?
sorry. I feel like we were just rambling. All right. Did you have anything else, Levi?
I mean, no, but I just kind of did feel cut off.
Well, girl, if you want to keep going, keep going.
No,
It's your moment. Have it.
have it. No, Maria, it's your
Singer.
moment, apparently.
Okay,
No, because
okay.
I think Drew and I
Just
could
looked
just
into the
keep going
Zoom
on
and
and
Maria
on.
was like not
No, but
not
nobody
speaking.
on the on listening will know what you just did.
Right. Okay.
Oh. Well, okay. I mean, this might be pretty brief, and then we can just pass it back to Levi, to be honest. But I mean, like, I don't want to sit here and be a hater. I've never ever wanted to be a hater. I actively try to shut out the hater lifestyle. I'm a lover. I'm not a hater. With that, I will say, oh, Levi,
Well, are you the seventh studio album by Taylor Swift?
yes, I'm a lover. I am lover.
You are, famously.
I, famously. Um, with that being said, though, I was never a Fifth Harmony fan. Um, However, I was present when Boss was released as a lead single because that song is hilarious. Was never a Fifth Harmony fan. I've never been a fan. like intentionally or like intentionally sought out the music of any Fifth Harmony girls.
You don't like her.
I'm setting the stage. You're trying to make me into a hater right now, and that's not what's gonna happen. So, I was never a fan of her. I've never intentionally sought out her music.
Maria, you go, you're trying to make me a hater, and that's not who I'm going to be. I'm not a fan of her at all. I've never listened to her music. I don't want it in my home.
Okay, but saying not a fan doesn't imply hatred. Am I right?
Mm, keep going.
I mean, I think saying not a fan implies like neutrality, if you ask me. At least that's what I'm trying to like get across.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously, us talking about this album is the first time I've ever listened to it. And it came with a lot of weight, I feel, because I mean, knowing that you two have such a history with this album and not just like the actual contents within the album, but all of the heavy, heavy nuance around everything to do with this album. So I felt some of that on my shoulders of like, oh gosh, this is just gonna be intense. But I mean, obviously, a couple songs I knew. Obviously, I've heard Senorita 10,000 billion times. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I was kind of interested to like sit down and listen to this actually front to back. So like as far as the actual music, because I do have things that I want to say about the aesthetic and I think Camila in general as like a creative artist, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, I will say, I mean, listening to this, like this isn't something that's necessarily for me. Like Levi's like, yeah, not everyone's gonna like her how she sings, like her voice. And for the most part, I would say like, yeah, that fits the bill of me. Like I don't really love her singing voice. A lot of like her choices for vocal inflections and the way that she pronounces things, like sometimes just isn't for me. Like she chews on words a lot in a way that just like sticks out in my ear in kind of an unpleasant way. And it's just like not super duper for me. But with that being said, I will say that she's an incredible vocalist, and I did watch her SNL performance of Cry for Me, which obviously you can tell she's performing live because it's SNL, but she sounds incredible. Like she is like that song is pretty vocally demanding because you have to switch between your head voice and your chest voice
Yeah.
a whole bunch throughout the entire chorus, and it's just very vocally demanding. And I was really impressed watching it. I'm like, she's hitting every note. She's doing it live. She's got some of this kind of blocking and choreography that's going on. And it was like really impressive. So I was just like, wow, this is really interesting. I've never like intentionally sat down to watch her perform anything either, obviously. So just like wow, I'm impressed that obviously she's such a great live performer and a very great live vocalist. So that I was very um pleasantly surprised by. Um
And
but
on
yeah,
that, the AMA performance of Living Proof, I know I talked about it earlier. That I think is her best performance that she's ever done. She does not
and I
miss
watched that.
one
I did watch
note.
it.
She's not missed one note of Living Proof. And it is like rangy, 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 rangy.
It is, yeah. So yeah, I watched that too, which was great. Um but yeah, I did enjoy like the Latin influences on this album. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was just an
Like,
interesting experience because it does bounce around from like genre influence a whole bunch. So I feel like in that sort of way, I had a little bit of a hard time following the narrative because because of how much it kind of bounces around. Um, but yeah, I would say because it's like I did watch some of those live performances and I did watch, I think all of the music videos for this album. And I would say like I have a really hard time like being on board with like every creative and like aesthetic decision that gets made because a lot of this really just feels like oh, okay, we have kind of a list of ideas, yes to everything. Like a lot of this just feels like let's just throw every creative option or creative idea that we could put into this and yes to everything. Like the video for
Liar, the video
Liar.
for Liars for Both. Wish I would have told you this beforehand. Living Proof is the only video that matters.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Okay.
But I was like, oh my God, this like Liar's a Dave Meyers music video. Like this is crazy,
Yeah, he
crazy,
does do a
crazy.
lot of her
He does a
videos.
lot of her, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like,
Did
ooh.
he do I Love It?
I think he did, actually.
Great video.
A great, yes. Oh, you're telling
I
me.
also, Maria, were you like, because I know a lot of people who weren't really big fans of her, who were going to listen to the album, were super turned off by the fact that like all of the love songs were about Sean. Did that like give you the ick a little? Or is
No.
it too in the past
I
that
think
it's
it's
like,
too a little bit too much in the rear view. I mean, maybe if I listened to this in 2020 when like
yeah,
everyone was just cringing at everything about their relationship,
I
like
think that,
maybe, but
yeah,
like
I
I
think
don't,
that did the album kind of bad too, but
yeah. But I mean, it's like I don't know. Like sure, like write songs about the person that you're in love with. Like you have the creative license to do that. You're a musician.
yeah.
Like do that. So yeah, I don't have an issue with that, or it doesn't. I guess it didn't like diminish my experience listening to it or anything. I mean, it gave me kind of like a, oh, remember? Throwback. Kind of made me like, oh, reminisce listening to it. But like, yeah, I would say just like aesthetically, I mean, there's a lot of beautiful images that came out of this, and there's a lot of pretty things. I think aesthetically, a lot of this is just like too much. It's too much of everything. They said yes to probably every single idea, is what it feels like to me. And yeah, and I honestly don't even like remember the discourse of like, oh my gosh, Cry for Me, is like Marina and the Diamonds. Like, this is so Marina. Because I was listening to it and I was like, man, why am I gravitating towards this one the most? And then I was
No,
like,
it's good.
oh,
It's
it's
so
Marina.
good.
Like it's literally Marina. So yeah. And I mean like, I don't know. I guess maybe as you guys as like genuine enjoyers and like have been genuine enjoyers of Camila Cabello, obvious since at least 2019, like and I don't want to say this and like sound shady, but obviously we're having a discussion. So and I genuinely want to know, like, what's your guys's perception on her as like an artist with like original concepts and original ideas? Like aesthetically, not just like the music itself, but like aesthetically, outfits, creative direction. Like, do you guys feel like she's producing original work, or like just what do you think about that in general? Because I think that's something I'm kind of like grappling with
Like,
too.
do we think that this was like this concept was forced upon her? Or do we think it was her idea? Is that kind of what you're
I
asking?
mean, a little bit of that, but is it just like, is this just a recycled version of something someone else has made, or like music
I
videos, something like that, live performances, that sort of
I
thing?
personally I don't think that. I think she came in with ideas. I just think the ideas were too similar to other things.
Right.
Like kind of what Levi was saying. I think she probably came in with a screenshot of Pang, and then I think they kind of rolled with it and made it too similar to what she was bringing in. I mean, because she also it's kind of obvious from her working with 500 million people that like it. I feel like she probably did the same thing with all of her producers and was like, I want it to sound like this, but I think it was coming from her. I just don't. I think it was too similar to what she was bringing in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
that
for
kind
me,
of what you think?
well, for me, I interpret that question as like, because I think kind of what you're getting at, Maria, I think we also have to acknowledge the whole discourse this past year from the similarities of the CXOXO album campaign with the Charlie XCX aesthetic and like the very heavy similarities between a lot of Charlie's sound, a lot of Charlie's visual imagery, a lot of stuff from specifically the Brat era. Um, I don't. It's interesting. I think she's a talented songwriter. I think she's a very talented songwriter who can succeed in a lot of different genres. I think there is probably an element of nostalgia at play. When I was in my senior year of high school, I was in a not a great place, and like weirdly, the her debut album like was a big source of comfort for me. I
Hmm.
really, really enjoyed that record, and like it was just like a little bit like a blanket for me almost. And I think she's very, very talented. Do I think that she is an artist that has a clearly defined sense of self? No, I don't. think she does. Um, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I don't think I think I can somebody can make things that I enjoy quite a bit and like think are very good without having a clearly defined personality. I think she's at her best when she plays into her Latin influences and roots. I think there's a reason why the songs and the moments from her that transcend the most and get the highest level of commercial success are the ones where she leans into that. Um, I think that like it's tricky because she's obviously somebody who enjoys a lot of different kinds of music. And I agree with Drew that I think she gets influences and she's like, I want it to be like this, or like, I want to go after this. But the problem is that I don't know if she has a distinct enough core identity to differentiate herself from those influences. And so I think she clearly wants to be the kind of artist that can like shapeshift and reinvent herself. But the reason why that works for some people, it worked for Prince, it worked for Madonna, it worked for Taylor. The reason why that works, I think it works for Gaga. The reason why that works is because they have core artistic identities and personalities that are maintained as they switch it up sonically. The
Yeah.
artist who made the album Like a Prayer is the same artist that made Ray of Light, is the same artist that made Confessions on a Dance Floor. Like those are all Madonna records. Same thing with Taylor. You can tell it's the same person. The same person who wrote Love Story is the same person who wrote Wildest Dreams, is the same person who wrote August. Like you can tell that that's the same person. And with Camila, I think sometimes it can come off as she's wearing a costume.
Yeah.
So I don't do I think she's the most wholly original artist in the world? No. But I think she's very talented. And I think that
Yeah.
like I think you would be being maybe a little disingenuous if someone and obviously that's not what you're doing, but I think people are very, very dismissive of her in a way that I can sometimes be like, okay, we can admit that she's talented because she's objectively a good songwriter. Like she has an ear for pop hooks. And I think she writes really good lyrics. And I think it's really hard to write the kind of lyrics that she writes in the melodic structures that she chooses, which is pop songs. Because she writes very diaristic, confessional, specific lyrics a lot of the time. And that's hard to pair with poppy, strong hooks. And she does that really, really well. So I think she absolutely is very talented. But I see the point of do I think she has a core artistic identity? I'm not certain of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing points.
Amazing points. And, perhaps maybe that's why this is kind of a little bit of a miss for me, because I think that's something that I value. And just like, I mean, like, if I'm going to get very invested in somebody, and I feel like a lot of the
Yeah.
times if I'm going to, like really commit to listening to a lot of an artist, it's like I really have to be on board creatively with like the artist as
Totally.
like I like because I mean that's what all of this is, right? Is like you're like if I am a musician, I have to market myself. I am the product. So I feel like I really have to be bought into the artist as the creative concept in order to really be on board with the work itself.
Hmm.
Um, but again, I mean, like just having listened to this album and listening to some of the other supplemental material and music videos and performances and all of that, it's like I have, I think, a deeper appreciation for her as a live performer that I never would have had before. So that was kind of eye-opening for me, like I said before. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I have to say. I I'm not sat here saying that this is the worst album ever and Camila should quit music. I mean, I'm not that intense. But I mean, like, I can clearly admit this is just not something that's like made for me, and that's fine. So,
Well, no, clearly the worst album of all time is 143.
oh, well, quote Drew Clemens.
I can't believe Drew Clemens just said that.
Well, no, this is the public, you know.
Oh, that was the general populace.
Yeah.
Well, Drew, I think we should get into your thoughts on the album.
Yeah, I think we need to reach his thoughts.
Well, I kind of like shared most of mine. I'll just kind of go into like just basic thoughts.
Yeah.
Um, so I think this was our sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I was a huge Shawn Mendes stan at this time. Uh, he was like, honestly, gonna be honest, he was kind of my everything. I thought he was like the best person ever. So,
Yes.
and they were so annoying. And I'm gonna be honest, going into
It's giving
this
share.
era, I think you could have maybe asked anyone who had talked to me for 15 minutes who my least favorite person on planet Earth was, and it was her.
And
I
you,
could not stand her. Like I don't know. I thought she was just being so annoying through the whole thing. I was like getting mad at him all the time. Like he was slowly not becoming my favorite person. So I was really not looking forward to this, and I really was hoping that it would flop. But I was, and so, but I was, the pettiness in me was like, oh, well, I have to listen. I have to like watch it flop. And I did watch it flop, but it was crazy because I actually really enjoyed it. I really love the songwriting, like Levi was saying. Um, Again, I love like, I mean, she went to the Taylor Swift's Penn School.
yes, she did.
Like, and it was like also a huge time, like Lover for me and Levi were like huge albums. And I feel like
Hmm.
I mean, she probably heard early demos or whatever because she was besties with Taylor. Like, she was, she was, she was trying to write a Taylor Swift love song through half of this. And I think kind of what I was asking Maria, I think a lot of the love songs that I think kind of are getting pushed to the side that not a lot of people loved. I think a lot of why they didn't love it was because I think because they're about him and I think they were being so annoying in the media and the people that kind of saw them just from the outside who weren't really who didn't really care for either of them thought that they were annoying and therefore didn't love the love songs. But I actually kind of did. I like a lot of the love songs of this. I like both halves. Probably equally, to be honest. I wish this could have toured or like I wish she would have talked about what the tour of this would have been because I think it would have been really, really cool. Because it was kind of her first attempt at doing an arena show, and I think, like Maria was saying, I think that performance is where she's at her peak.
Agreed.
And it sucks because she hasn't really gotten to do a lot of performances. Like
No, she
she like
hasn't.
what we say. I mean, like it's crazy that probably her biggest stride in performance was in when was Reputation Tour 2018,
2018, yeah.
and she was an opening act and did like
Yeah.
an 8 song set. So like it's crazy that her performance is still after like I think 4 albums, like she still hasn't really done a tour, a proper tour. So yeah. So I'm really interested to see where she goes from CXOXO. And I really wish this could have gotten a performance. Maybe it could have been revived from the dead if like the tour would have went really well, because I know that it sold really well. I know a lot of people were antsy to get tickets to it. And I think it like mostly sold out because there wasn't a lot of dates. So um, yeah, that's kind of, I mean, I was really excited to discuss this because we'd been looking forward to it for so long, and
I think we did it.
I think we did it.
Okay, are we gonna get into Holy Trinity
Yay!
time?
Yes, and you can
Okay.
do both at the same time, the me and the
Okay.
Holy Trinity.
So am I starting then?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Levi.
My Me, I fucking hate this song. This song should not be on this album. It's stupid. It has nothing to do with anything. It's the worst tendencies that she has. It's the worst tendency in a pop album. It's First Man. I fucking hate that song. I think it is so tacky. I think it's so cheesy and not earned at all. One of my least favorite things a pop album can do is tack on a sappy emotional ballad out of nowhere as the closing number to try to like, earn a tear or have the last moment be mature or meaningful or emotional. Fuck off. This has nothing to do with anything. And like it's to me this is something that you make for your dad for a Father's Day gift and you don't show the world The reason why something like The Best Day by Taylor Swift, which is about her mom, resonates so much is, first of all, it's not creepy, kind of, which I think First Man is kind of creepy. Like, the first man who really loved me, like, okay, like, I get what you're saying, but I don't love the constant comparisons of your father with your romantic partner. Like, that is alarming to me. I don't love it at all. And like a song like The Best Day has that hyper specific storytelling, but ultimately it makes you think about your mom. And that's why it's so effective. And First Man doesn't. Like First Man is so much about all I'm doing is thinking about Camila Cabello's dad and how it's creepy to me. It's a creepy song. I don't think it's good written. I hate the way it's written, actually. I don't like anything about it. It has nothing to do with anything else. That's my other thing. It drives me fucking crazy when the last, because in my mind, that is the most important song on the record. I am a huge staunch advocate of the closing track and the opening tracks because those are the most important. Those are your most important spots. It's your first is your opportunity to introduce listeners to the world of the album, set the stage, and then it's your last opportunity to make a statement and to sum everything up, to close the bow, and this is what she fucking chooses. It's also frustrating after an album that is so clearly structured in a narrative way. It has such a clear story, and literally every other song is adding to the story that she's built. And then here's this random song about my dad. Who cares? Who cares?
I also love how like 2 episodes ago Levi was like, I love cheesy. Like you couldn't if a song's too cheesy for me, like it's not gonna be too cheesy for
When
me.
did I say that?
You said it during 143.
So not 2 episodes ago.
You said it just recently. Let me find it. But I want to hear your Holy Trinity.
Well, I mean, it's different because this is
You're
bad
done.
cheese. This is rotten molded cheese. It's like saccharine or saccharine. How do you say that word? Sacch. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I no,
No.
actually. Interesting.
Saccharin.
What is
Saccharin. That's how you pronounce it. Excessively sweet or sentimental.
oh got it.
It's saccharin to me, and I don't like
Vocab.
it.
Yeah,
You don't like
It
it.
the
no,
choice.
it's cavities the house to me. So, anyways, my top three is so strong, top three. And it's funny because my top three is in a different order, just the first three songs on the album. So, my number
Whoa.
three, I would say, is Iconic Queen Living Proof. That literally sounds like angels singing from the heavens. I love her vocals on that song. I love the production. I love like the weird like elementary school chant that like sounds like it's backwards at the beginning and like the hand claps and the percussive elements. I love the choral elements of that song. I think the hooks are so great. I think the lyrical content's wonderful. My number two is Shameless. We talked about that earlier, but Shameless is I think such a strong opener. It highlights the best of her voice, the best of her performance tendencies. Uh, I think it's a really great, interesting, cool, fun song. And then my number one is Should Have Said It. Should Have Said It, the diva that you are. Should have said it, I'm so sorry I wasn't your mother to to make you the biggest hit in the world because Should Have Said It is so fucking good. The horns on Should Have Said It, the lyrics on Should Have Said It, the melodies on Should Have Said It, the vocal performance on Should Have Said It, the guitars on Should Have Said It, the drums on Should Have Said It.
We
It's
get it,
perfect.
girl.
It's
The
per
music on should have said it.
well, does anybody understand the reference I was making?
No.
See, that's how you know that I'm a studier of the internet in a way that you two are not. It's that video of the woman on The View going, the intelligence that that has, the national security that that has, the importance that that has, the international implications that that has. So if you knew your View memes, you would know that.
Oh,
Anyways, Should have said it. Yeah, should have said it's a phenomenal song. It boggles my mind that that was not a single. Yeah, and I think those are very solid top three. But when I did my song sorter, "Feel It Twice" was actually number four, which surprised me because again, that was a song that I didn't really notice back in 2019 that much. But I think that's a really good song. "Bad Kind of Butterflies" I think is a really great song. Um, "Cry for Me" is really good. Like there's a lot of standouts, but that top three is pretty sturdy for me.
Why?
Yay.
Well, so you're about to get mad at me. Because my me is Bad Kind of Butterflies.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
cuckoo.
The way she
Um,
wails at the end really sends me. So I want to see her in the studio doing it.
I just like the chorus of the song just felt really bad in my ears. I
Well,
really did not
yeah,
like where it went. And
yeah.
it's like, oh,
Well,
this
that would
was,
make you not like something.
yeah, this was the one moment where I think I was like, maybe I'm gonna let my hater out a little bit. I'm just not a fan of that song. I was like, ooh, ooh.
Okay.
So sorry. I'm sorry. Um, no comment. So, my Holy Trinity, um, number three is Feel It Twice.
Okay.
Mmm,
Number two, Should Have Said It.
Okay.
diva.
And number one is Cry for Me.
That's a
Like
good top three.
miles above. Cry for Me, miles above than the rest of the album. That was the biggest standout for me. And I really liked it. And like I'll be real right now. Like I'm probably not gonna come back to most of this a whole bunch, but I will come back to this song for sure. And
For
I
sharks.
and because honestly, like it wasn't immediately clear to me that this was like a Marina dupe situation. But once I did realize that, I was like, oh, well, of course, that's why I like it. But it wasn't immediately clear to me. And then I was just like, man, this is just really hitting me in a way that none of the other songs are by comparison whatsoever. So,
Yeah. That song is amazing to walk to. Like you can get a really good fast walking rhythm to that song, and it goes
yeah,
so hard.
That's
yeah,
funny.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so
Okay.
that's my Holy Trinity. But yeah, thanks for enduring my me and my Holy Trinity, knowing that you guys are stans of this album.
Maria,
That's
you
okay.
can be as big of a hater as you want, honestly. Like
Yeah.
you really can be. You're safe
Yeah.
here.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So my me is actually not the same as Levi's, although I don't like First Man either. I think that it has, I mean, it's very clear. I'm not as mad at like closers like that because I know that it's a closer, but I understand everything that you said. But there's a song that I really don't like and I hate it more. And it's Dream of You because it literally, every time I hear it, I'm like, this song literally sounds like it could be in The Greatest Showman.
Oh my
Every time I
God.
hear it, I'm like, this is so fucking stupid. Why is this on Romance? But no, I hate that song. I always skip it. And no one's talked about it, so
That is kind of never enough kind of vibe.
and there's there a song in Greatest Showman about dreaming?
It's bottom tier,
It's
mama.
what's the is it the Zac Efron and Zendaya song? Oh no, that's Rewrite
No,
the
that's
Stars.
about stars.
It's
There's a
Rewrite the
song
Stars.
about
Is
dreaming,
that
dreaming.
The Michelle Williams song? Is that the theme
No,
No,
song?
but
that's never enough. That's never enough.
No,
no, that's
no.
not
A
Never
Million
Enough is
Dreams.
Rebecca
It's a
Ferguson.
Million
a
Dreams. It's a
million
Million Dreams.
dreams.
Sorry. I mix up the actresses, but yeah, it's a Million Dreams is what we're talking
And
about.
then Michelle Williams sings a song about like pushing and pulling and
Tightrope.
Okay,
yeah,
let's we have Never Enough is a banger. Like we just have to
it's
say that.
good.
And I say that as somebody who despises The Greatest Showman and fought
Yeah.
hard against the propaganda my high school in Southern Idaho amongst all the LDS population that loves The Greatest Showman and Hugh Jackman. No, it was not happening for me, but never enough. She's diva. She's diva.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's why I hate Dream of You. Um, yeah, it kind of makes me tense. So, my Holy Trinity, my number three is Liar. I love Liar, and I think Liar could have been a successful single had it not flopped. Um, uh, the way she says "kind of like it though" is like so good. Like fuck me up. That song would go so hard live. I know she'd do a great job. Um, and my number two, which I like the song so much. Honestly, at the time, Levi was the one who put me onto the song, and it didn't even end up in his like top five.
What was it?
Do you know what I'm about to say?
No.
Used to this.
Yeah, used to this is great. Yeah, used to this is really good.
Levi, that was like your number one when it came out. You
Re
loved Used to This.
Oh, yeah, it's not my number one now, but it's
Yeah.
great. It's great.
Yeah.
It's such a Taylor song.
Yes. And that was her favorite. Maybe that's why it was your favorite.
Yeah, but it's not my favorite, but
Oh,
it's
I
great.
love it. I didn't know Phineas produced it either.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is tea.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to
And
me that song sounds like Cold, which I really like. Like
yeah.
it feels like a brisk San Francisco day to me, which is what
Yeah.
it's about. But like it captures like wind,
Yeah. Um, and then my number one is Living
whatever that
Proof.
means. Yeah.
Living Proof
Should have
for
said it.
everything.
Is it okay? We're having the exact same experience because you're the
Wait,
person who put me on should have said it.
let me see where it landed.
Well, because you should have said it was your ultimate diva back in
Yeah.
2019.
Well, and I love that songs too because I'm crazy and like I saw her performing it and like to me she sings Shameless and then she sings Should Have Said It and it's like a dance number. Like
Okay,
where all the dancers are like lifting her up and like they're doing a bunch of lifts and things like that.
so this isn't explaining why the song is not in your top three.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm
Should we
asking you a
do
question, Drew. Why is it not in your top three?
I like the other three more. I
Well,
don't
it's just interesting because that was your like your
Oh,
favorite by
I
far.
love that song. Like it's a 10 out of 10 song for me. Um,
It's interesting. We're both experiencing the same thing. Well, because
yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm. Wow.
I
Says a
should have
lot.
said it.
Oh, got him.
But Levi's used to this. It's fine.
Oh, pun.
Honey.
Wait, I really want to know. Oh wait, no. We have to do Levi Knife last. I'm like, I really want to know what Levi's giving this. Um,
No, yeah, Levi Knife is
okay,
last.
utensil time. My score, I landed on an 8.3, and I'm gonna stay there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think that fits all the
Yeah.
thoughts that you laid out, which I think
Yeah.
that's what it should be. I think that's accurate. Okay, Miss
Spoon.
Maria. Oh, the spoon is not gonna be spooning super high, I don't feel.
Yeah, I fear I'm tanking the score, which will be our, aggregate score at the end of this. But there's a lot here that I would be looking for in a pop album that fully isn't here. Um,
What?
I mean,
What?
like the creative
You
Maria,
didn't mention
direction.
it
no,
in your critiques.
Well,
Maria.
no,
Well,
that's what
also that sentence didn't really make sense because you said there's a lot here that I would be looking for that isn't here. Well,
well, do I
am I
get what you're
crazy?
saying.
The score's
I get
going
it.
further down and
I
further
get
down the more we
Well,
scream
what I'm
at
trying
her.
to say is there's like what I would be looking for
Is it present?
is
Isn't
is
there?
not present on this
Yeah.
album.
Her name
And
isn't
it's
Alice.
no. So it's I I'm just having a hard time.
Follow your heart. No, follow your heart. We want your true follow your heart thoughts.
Okay, my follow my heart is telling me 5.9.
Girl, that's garbage.
Oh, I thought this was a
5.9.
safe space for opinions.
Well,
Maria
Levi
said,
Knife,
fuck that.
it's safe space in Levi Knife County. I don't know about the Drew
Okay.
Fork Valley.
I'm saying she gets a 5.9 entire points for great production and being a good vocalist, period. And everything else is a miss.
But she fails ultimately. She gets to 59%.
Everything else is a miss. You also calling her a good vocalist after you say that you don't like the sound of her voice.
Well, hey, t two things could be true at once. She's great at at
That is true.
vocalizing the way that
Okay.
she does.
She's
And
great at,
clearly she's successful at it. So,
well,
oh,
relative.
so now you guys are being the haters. Okay, got it.
Well, no,
Just say,
I'm talking success. I mean, I think CXOXO peaked at 14.
mm.
The success is not present with
Well, I think
us.
I mean success like she's still making music.
Oh, yeah, she is doing that. That is
Yeah.
true.
I mean like
I,
baselines,
I,
like
I
she's
mean,
still
success.
working.
She's dating a billionaire, you guys.
Who's she
Oh
dating?
yeah, that
Some
she was
random
kissing.
billionaire.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Is she? Are they dating or are they just
Yeah,
kissing?
they're dating.
They're dating. Interesting.
get it, girl.
Oh, okay. My score is 7.9.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, because I mean, I think there are flaws in this record. I think that she misses on the writing. I think that she misses on the structure a bit. Obviously, we've talked about the promotional uh, pitfalls, but ultimately, I think there is a lot of strength that, pushes it up.
Yeah.
So that's our score. We have 8.3, 5.9, and 7.9 for a average of 7.3.
Girl Maria tanked.
Yeah, Maria tanked.
Hold my hand, Tank. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maria tanked.
What's
That is
next?
actually, well, 5.9 is the lowest that we've given an album, that anybody has given an album since 143.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm like, girl, my 143 score was lower than that
My
for
diva's getting
sure.
shot, girl.
Well, oh, and Harlequin, I guess, was technically after, no, Harlequin wasn't after 143. We recorded it after 143. Because Harlequin, we had five, Drew gave it a 5.9, and then 143, Maria gave it a 4.3, and I gave it a
Well, there you
5.6.
go.
You know, I feel like
So,
that's fair that my enjoyment of romance would be on par with Drew's
enjoyment of
enjoyment of
Harlequin.
Harlequin.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
I feel
I
like
was
that's a fair
supposed to
comparison.
love that. I wanted to love Harlequin
Oh,
until the Saints came marching in.
oh. Well, sure. I mean, I didn't listen to this like wanting to hate it or anything.
Yeah.
So,
So
Also,
that's okay.
also interesting that the last two albums we've done have been two have had scores very similar, and then the other person kind of hold my hand tanks because I hold my hand tanked radical optimism, and then Maria just hold my hand tanked romance. So next
So
week with
Levi, what's
Drew,
next
hold my,
week?
well, I guess Drew, you're gonna have your opportunity to hold my hand tank
I
next
ain't
week
taking the next one.
with we're gonna go to 2015's Pop Bible Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen. It is a
yes.
pop music classic. For any like gay person or pop music fan, you know how good this album is. If you hear the name Carly Rae Jepsen and you only think of Call Me Maybe, you have education that you need to undergo. This is the
That's so
follow-up
correct.
to Call Me Maybe, and it is like it's what pop music is all about. So super excited to revisit that album. It's super great and kind of like what Drew mentioned at the end of last week's episode. If you haven't listened to it, please do yourself a favor and listen to it before because it's a great record and it'll make the conversation make a lot more sense. So
Yay.
that's what I got. Is
Well, it's
that
gonna be such a hoot. I'm so excited.
Yep.
so, Drew? Anything else to close out the long-awaited romance episode?
No, I feel like it was worth the wait, and I love that we got to do it when we were all kind of in the rhythm of the pod, and
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I feel like we did it justice.
Yay.
I think it's fitting that there was a low score. I think it fits the chaotic energy of this
Maria
one.
represented society.
Yeah, Maria represented the normal opinion.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to that.
Okay, everyone, we'll
All
see you next
right.
week.
Bye,
Bye, pop
Shanti.
girlies.